All right, man. So I'm gonna get myself in trouble right from the get go, and
Oh man, you're gonna do this again?
admit I did not watch the game.
Oh, okay, okay, all right, all
Okay, so I'm only talking about very
right.
limited YouTube highlights experience, but I watched a significant highlight package. Okay, from the U.S. versus Puerto Rico. Dave, did you watch some of those highlights?
I watched the first quarter, but then I got distracted and decided to
Okay.
go feed cats instead. So
Okay, so the first half was really close between the US and Puerto Rico. Now, the second half, the US created some distance,
sure,
but I would say the first half did not do anything to dispel my
original thoughts about the team, huh?
yeah. I mean, look, here's the problem with what you said yesterday. And I
All
don't
right,
want to go too bad, but like you mentioned like Halliburton is there and he can really help spray the ball around.
yeah,
I don't know that he's gonna be influential enough to overcome. Like, look, I get it when Ant plays like he did, fine, but I don't want to be rude, but and I love Puerto Rico,
what's
but
up,
they were
Jared?
playing Puerto Rico,
Yeah,
so like he sh-
George.
he should dominate, bro.
Well,
So
I
I'm
it
just
go
kind of concerned when they get against real competition because they did like I've never seen the U.S. kind of fuck around with like a team like Puerto Rico in a scrimmage before. It didn't look like they had command of the situation in
mm,
the first half.
we got to be careful with this because we have a lot of I'm a fan of the U.S. basketball too, but um, one of the fans that really I grew up watching, a huge fan of, but it was Grant Hill. And I did some research on this team, and this team was designed. It's Grant Hill's first year putting this team together. All right, so Grant Hill put the team together, and he got Steve Kerr, who it says this is his first year with FIBA. He's got Eric Spoelstra, who's his assistant coach there. So this team was put together in a way that I am sorry, man. I don't know what else to say, but I just feel like there's this lackluster. And if we're just going to play off of athleticism, sure, we can do that. But I'm sorry, Jalen Brunson and Tyrese and Ant and Jarian Jackson, these guys aren't enough. I mean, they could make it to the championship game, and they could, and it would be surprising to me. But I struggle at it because I've never seen a team. And Brandon Ingram, there's the other guy. I've never seen a team that's been put together that's like, where is the leadership? Where is the veterans? Where is, and it's lackluster in so much. And if you're going to do lackluster like this, it goes back to what I said last podcast was go for the young, get Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, Chet, Jalen Williams. I mean, I know people are like, oh, no, 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 no. But no, I'm serious. This has to go back to getting the youngest players out there if you're going to do a lackluster team.
You know, look, I'm good with the Thunder players um, not necessarily being quite ready. I do think you'd be better off having Tyrese Halliburton more on the ball than Ant. I
Sure.
think you'd be better off.
But he would be better, like, coming off the bench for Cade Cunningham.
Right.
I'm sorry. Like,
But
you
dude,
could go down this list and
I would
say,
rather Tyrese and Cade. If you had those two guys as your guards, you know the ball's going to move from side to side. You know that the ball's going to find the open shooter.
man,
They can knock down the shot and they can create for other people. Here's
what
the thing:
what
Ant can
what
knock
are
down the
the
shot
other
and he can
teams
create for himself.
the
That's what
other
he
teams
does.
out there, bro, is I'm watching the rest of the countries. They've got tall, lanky guards, big guards. You've got Jalen Brunson out there, man.
Look,
Like
I'm good with
this
him,
is why I say we have to get back to the younger
but
players because the tall, lanky guys are the ones of the future. And if we can't
I
compete there, we can't.
say you paired Jalen Brunson with the right players.
Sure.
I'm good with Jalen Brunson,
I agree. I agree.
but like I just like because I really do think he's like the type of spark plug you need for a championship contending team. Not
Sure.
every team's lucky enough to have one, but I just kind of worry like is yeah.
All right.
I,
Let's go over it. Paulo, Mikal Bridges, which Mark and I are huge Mikal Bridges fans, Jalen Brunson, Ant, Tyrese, Josh Hart, who didn't play last night. Hey, Mark. Hi. Oh, a cracker. Yum, num, 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 num. Brandon Ingram, Jarian Jackson, Cam Johnson, Wes Walker Kessler, Bobby Portis, and Austin Reeves.
look,
Like,
here's the thing.
I struggle
I'm
at
good
this
with
team. I'm
Austin
like,
Reeves.
what?
He looks really good to me in a situation. Here's why I like Austin Reeves, and it's why I wish there was more of these other guys that pass the ball.
Yeah.
Austin Reeves is willing to find the open shooter,
No, you're
and he's
right.
deadly when you leave him open. Like that's how you make a really good team USA or international competitive team where the ball moves. Like you have to be committed to team basketball. And if you have like a guy who's your point guard who's a shoot first guy, like whatever. I shouldn't
Bro,
go in at Ant too much, but I'm
Jalen
just saying
Brunson,
like
Ant,
they
Tyrese, Josh Hart, and then you've got Austin Reeves as your guards. This is nothing throwing punches at anybody else. All right. But this is one of the hardest hitting guards I've seen on a team in a long time, bro.
how many how tell me you name the players on that group if you were coaching you think you would want to start as far as like that are team ball committed first.
All right. Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, Tyrese, Brandon Ingram, and Jarian Jackson, or I would
Jaren
even
Jackson. Yeah.
Jaren Jackson, or I would throw a Walker Kessler out there too. Like either one of those at the center position.
Okay.
I just this is again,
So you're missing
I'm
like
missing
because
Paulo out
Brandon
there,
Ingram is
Anthony
not
Edwards out there. Like, but it's
he
because
doesn't
we have
Brandon
to
Ingram
have
doesn't strike fear in people.
no, but he's tall and lanky and can play defense. And I'm sorry, that's not what everybody
And
thinks.
that's
But
what this team is counting on is a lot of like length and athleticism. They want to have a killer half court trap. They want to send traps everywhere and they want to overwhelm players with their length
yeah,
and their ability. But look, it reminds me of like being the best team at a bad tournament. Like you want to come
sure,
out and
Brian.
put a lot of pressure. But here's the problem. If you play against teams that are really good at handling pressure and they
Yeah,
do the right things out of that pressure, they will torture you on the
yeah,
weak side, which, oh, guess what? The weak side happens to be where the basket is.
sure.
Like if you overload pressure on the ball, which the Team USA seems committed to doing, I, mm, like that only works if you are better at defense, far better at defense than the other team is at offense. Because
Sure.
if they're smart and they can get an outlet in the middle and then they can rotate the ball to the weak side, there's always open shots on the weak side. And Team USA looks so committed to using their length and creating pressure and just being like, I'll be damned on everything else. And it
But
didn't
like
work in the first half against Puerto Rico, and it worked really well in the second half. But I question the pace that they want to play at. Like, I haven't seen teams internationally play at this, like honestly, they seem chaotic.
yeah.
And look, they want to create chaos. That's their game plan. But is that really the long term? Like, can you win a FIBA championship with your main strategy of creating chaos?
Hmm.
I don't think so.
Again, it's just if Austin Reeves was and Bobby Portis was on a team that was a young team, a super young team, and this is a pretty young team in the grand scheme of things, but I just look at this team and if we have Anthony Edwards, Jalen Brunson out there at the same time, and just throw out Austin Reeves with three guards set, right? With the length of guards that Australia has, and the length of guards that the French team have, and the length of guards that, and we could go on and on. Like we lose our length so many different positions with this team. And if you're looking at the way
What
the
up, Brian?
NBA
What
is
up, Corey?
changing, and that's where I want to throw it. The NBA is changing to long and lanky, more shots, passing the ball around, and team defense. And what
What up,
part
Wani?
about this team screams that? Again, I get it. Grant Hill is old school. But if you take out the reality of where we're trying to go with this, the new NBA, I feel like this team was designed for old school basketball. And that's where again, it's a cool team to watch in that old school basketball mindset, but not that shoot everybody shoots, everybody gets up and down, everybody, like that is something that we're missing here. And again, why I think the Thunder players and a team, even the Houston teams and Detroit teams could have added players to this that would have been more team atmosphere and around that team idea of where the future of the NBA is going. And it's just to me, I feel like the Americans we still have a month or whatever, 20 days before things start. So I feel like just the way this was picked, it was a lackluster by Grant Hill. He could have
So
done a
you're
better
blaming
job.
on Grant Hill.
I am. I'm sorry. You got to look at the top. You got to look at the people that made the decisions for the players on this team. And it could have been, we don't want to play here. I'm sorry. My rookie year, I don't want to play this. Second year, I'm finally healthy. I don't want to play. People could be making those
I
stuff.
assume
But
part of
the
that.
reality is that that's for the veterans, because the veterans come out for the Olympics. The FIBA are for the young players that are trying to get their spots for the Olympics. And what part of these guys, which one of these guys as young players would you want on that Olympics team? Like that
I would
Olympics team
want
is going to
Tyrese.
have like LeBron. It's going to have like,
Right.
Chris Paul, and it's going to have all these old, really good players out there. Yes, there'll be whatever, but they are not going to go for their brand. So if they're going to have Damian Lillard out there, you're going to have KD and all these other players, which of these players are going to make that team next year? And I
Yeah.
sit there and I'm like, you know what? I don't see many of them doing so. But then why wouldn't you sit there and say, let's lean towards more of a young team? Let's highlight the 24 and under or 25 and under players. Like it seems like with the Bobby Portis thing and some of these other picks, it's just like I get the Paulo idea. Like you started in the right direction. Like you started it, and then all of a sudden it's like squirrel. Walker Kessler. I get that. Another young talent, but Walker Kessler over Chet, Bobby Portis over Chet. Like I'm sorry, I love Austin Reeves, but Austin Reeves over J-Dub, like that's where I keep going back to this is like if they had sat down these decisions in the proper form, Jalen Green, Cade Cunningham, like people would be sitting here and saying, oh yeah, this is for the future. Paolo, Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, and Chet. That's the future, right? Nobody was sitting here saying, where else are these other players going to go? It would be like, there's their veteran group and there's your young core. Because that makes sense for 2024 Olympics. But here it's just like you just put a team out there that maybe one player is going to be on the Olympics from this team. Maybe two, if they're lucky, if there's an injury or something like that. Think about 2010, right? They put the team together, right? I think it was the first time that year that he put the team together. And what did he focus on? He focused on the 2012 Olympics. Like that's what his mindset was. What team is going to be out there in the 2010 Olympics? That's what we should have done for the 2024 Olympics. And it's just, to me, like Grant Hill just dropped the ball on this one. Sorry, man.
Jugular, bro. You went for the jugular.
Dude,
Okay.
Dude, when you got bad knees, you got bad knees.
Look, I'm good with it. I'm good with somebody, got to go to the top man taking responsibility. But like at the same time, the tournament hasn't even started yet. So in the end, this could work out fine.
So Blake,
but I do think it's one of those things that's a little bit limited. Like even if they do win the tournament, it might still backfire because you got to go young. You got to go when you have a chance like this to make a transition to a younger team. You got to make it. I see they made a couple of picks that way, but like you mentioned, Dave, like Cade,
dude.
But maybe Cade is just now healthy, so they're not ready to do that. Maybe
Think about
this is
the
more
top
about
20
health.
NBA players, bro. Just top 20 American NBA players. And tell me if any of these guys deserve to be on there. Paolo, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, Anthony Edwards, Tyrese, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, Jarian Jackson, Cam Johnson, Walker Kessler, Bobby Portis, or Austin Reeves. Do any of those guys
I like
belong
the
in the
first
top
20. I feel like the first three.
You think Paolo deserves to be in the top 20 in the NBA?
I think that there's a special lane for sometimes the player turns out to be like Christian Laettner, where he's like the recent best college player and has a chance to be impactful in the league. So you want to give them a chance. I think he has a path to getting on. They always reserve one or two spots for those guys.
I would say there's two players, Mikal Bridges and Jalen
Right.
Brunson are currently in the top 20 in the NBA American players.
Tyrese,
I'm sorry, he's not. Tyrese is not a top 20 player.
In the top 20 American player, yeah.
Okay, if you want to say top 20 in the guard position, yeah.
Top 20 American. I'd say top 20 American.
I'm sorry, he's not.
Yeah, he is.
No. You're going to put him above Russ?
Yes.
You're going to put him above oh my gosh. Dude, like I just can't put him above Russ yet. I just can't. Russ still is capable of going triple-double for the Lakers and starting on that Lakers team and dominate. Like until Russ truly loses his crown and having one bad half a season with the Lakers doesn't count.
He's definitely better than Russ. And it wasn't just like half a season. Like I'm glad Russ is in a happy place, but it was
It's just
the Rockets followed by the Wizards.
I
Those
know,
two
but
places weren't exactly what I would say stellar.
I'm
But
just saying, like Tyrese, like I get it that you're saying that Russ is better than Tyrese.
look,
I wouldn't, if I was building a team and I'm trying to win a championship right now, right? And I
I'm
could have
taking Tyrese.
all right. I'm just
Tyrese is
saying,
good, bro. Like he shoots the ball really well. Although here's what I'd say. Somebody mentioned
but
in the chat, like he's limited on defense, and I did notice that, and I know that people aren't really caring too much, but it's just like,
he is
um,
amazing. Tyrese is amazing. I'm not saying he's not amazing, guys.
but
All
I
right.
really feel like you would want to put him up there. In my opinion, I would want to put him on the team in front of Chris Paul because Chris Paul has like he's limited in what he can produce, and mostly what he's going to give you is experience. Whereas I think Tyrese can get out there and really ball. But I'd like to see him take a step forward on defense. What's going to happen in Indiana, I don't know, but I think Indiana got a huge steal trading
What
Sabonis
about
for
Fox? You
Tyrese.
think Fox is better than Tyrese?
Um,
But this is my point: is that like there's enough players and guards
yeah,
out there that
Fox is probably better than Tyrese
we could
today, but I
sit
think
there. We could sit
like,
there and we could argue enough guards. Then, and I get it. Russell's a bad comp, but my
would you
point
rather
about it is,
Fox on the team leading this team than Ant?
yeah. But that's my again. It goes back to when you put a team together, right? And you're looking at a team and you're saying, I need leaders on this team. And your best thing is saying, okay, you know what? I'm going with Tyrese as my ball distributor, which is again, it's fine. Debatable whether he's a top US 20 player in the league, right? It's debatable, right? Because I still look at like guys like LeBron and I still look at guys like Russ and Chris Paul as being these guys that could go out and do something crazy and still dominate the game. You know, like say what you want, but anybody that averages a triple double multiple years of their life
Yeah, but that's
is
I mean,
somebody that demands respect. And that's why
oh,
for me, for the rest of my life, when people are like comparing this player to that player, I will always say that Russ had a better peak than Chris Paul. Russ had a better peak than any other point guard that we have
so
seen in a
here's
long time.
you want to hear his stats, dude. Tyrese Halliburton averaged 20.7 points, 10.4 assists, 3.7 rebounds, shooting 49% field goals. Like my point is like
He's good. I'm not talking
I'm
trash
not
on him. I'm just
I'm
saying
not
like,
I'm just saying like at
but
23
as a
years old,
leader,
at 23 years old, like I would put him above people who might even be averaging a little bit more, but we're 28 as far as importance to invest in the Team USA. So you might be right. He may not be a top 20 US player, but you still at his age, what he's doing, what's his I just look at him as being the type of guy that you need to invest in.
yes,
You know
but
what I
you're
mean?
right. But I agree with that. But what I'm saying though, for him, right, in the aspect, if he was coming off the bench, right, and you had a Fox or you had um another point guard, you know,
And
that
dude,
was
he's a 40% career 3-point shooter. So I'm just like that. Like if you could
I
have
get
got
it.
Russ to 40%,
I get it,
like
man. I
he
get it.
gets more than one MVP.
I'm just saying is that like in the grand scheme of things and having a specialty point guard like Tyrese that can pass the ball, obviously 10 assists a game, that can score when he gets to the hole, you know, that can shoot the three. That's great, you know. But you also need in this, you're competing, but you're competing against look who he's competing against, man.
Dude, I would have given my left nut
Luca.
to get
Luca.
Tyrese on our team, bro.
But think about it. He's playing against Luca. Is that enough against Luca? Is that enough against Josh Giddey? I mean, we could go back to the size
Look,
difference and everything
yo,
else like that. You've
there's
got to
no
break this
doubt
down.
on a team full of all stars, he's off the ball. But my thing is, he's the perfect off the ball star. He's like averaging 10 assists a game. Like, give him the ball and tell him to get it up the court and initiate the offense, and then play off the ball offensively. Like from once the initiation, like, dude, I can't believe that Steve Kerr hasn't figured this out. Like, and honestly, if this team, if you were to say like change out Ant with any like pick a player in the NBA, I would say this team would actually be pretty good. Like Steph
Yeah.
Curry.
Yeah.
If you put Steph Curry on this team instead of Ant, I'd be like, yeah, they got a legit chance.
Yeah.
But like, I'm just wondering, like,
But again, like that's I don't want to
how
take
many low
Tyrese
quality
off the
shots can
team.
you take in a game?
I don't want to take Tyrese off the game. I want to take Tyrese and put him in as that ball distributor.
Me too.
Like I want Cade Cunningham to take that starting position. You know, I want Fox to take that starting position. I want it to be, you know, in that aspect of where it could be in a couple of years. And to me, it's not this is not
Yeah,
me throwing punches against Tyrese. It's just saying that this team could have been built better,
better.
and it could have been more thick and girth, and it could have been a fatter head. I mean, there's so many things that could have been better at it. But I feel like in the grand scheme of things, you're lacking. And there's nothing worse than getting done and just realizing that you just were not enough.
Okay, I would have loved Desmond Bain on the team. I like the idea of putting an Isaiah Joe type shooter out there to give the team something elite shooting wise. I just don't. I think if I was building an NBA team and somebody came to me and they're like, "Your best two players are Ant and Brandon Ingram," I'd be like, "Man, like
You would laugh. I mean, you would laugh. Let's be honest.
I would say let's start over.
Yeah.
Like, can we get any picks from these guys?
Is there a butt to that joke?
I'm just saying, like, this is reality. And then they're like, well, yeah, but all the other guys are really good players too.
All right,
And it's
Milwani,
like,
I agree. Top 25, I would say top 30. I'm okay with Tyrese. I would say he's, you know,
I'm
he's
punching
rated
in
at
the face, bro. Like, there's
all
no like.
okay.
I would if you're gonna go to 20. If you're gonna go to 30, I'm gonna go to top 15.
All
You
right,
wanna play
all right,
that
all right.
game? All
All
right.
right, we'll play that game. Hey,
20 and 10, bro. How many players in the league are averaging 20, 10, and 10 right now?
I don't have I don't have the stats in front of me. Thanks to my friend Jay for making
You know
sure
what,
I don't.
dude? 20 and 10 when it comes to assists, it's one. I
right.
bet you it's only Tyrese. And I'm just saying,
Okay.
like
Okay.
okay, like people can disrespect him, but he's doing the things like if he gets his rebounding up, but it's only 3.5 a game, like that's a little disappointing. But
All right.
maybe he hangs
Let
out
me
with
ask you
Russ for a
this:
little bit.
Tyrese or Josh Giddey?
Oh, Josh Giddey.
Okay. All right. Tyrese or Fox?
Because Tyrese is younger and he can really shoot the ball from the three.
I know what you say, Tyrese on the Fox. Okay, I get it. But Fox brought the team 53 wins. So,
What up,
okay.
Blake?
So then you look at
Tobias.
Tyrese or Cade Cunningham.
I'm going with Tyrese because he's shown he's shown he can put up that body of work. Like if Cade is consistent, I think at best he can do what Tyrese has already done.
Yeah.
Like I maybe at year 5, but obviously we got a lot of Cade and Fox guys out there. So I feel like I'm playing the fool here.
But
I'm the guy who picked all the dumb opinions today.
My point about this, right, is that now I just mentioned young guards that we would consider, better or more established, right, in our opinions, right, than Tyrese. And we haven't even got into the veterans yet. And that's my point, is that, yes, Tyrese is good. Yes, he is talented. But is he going to be that same player in 2 or 3 years that these other players are going to be? And to me, Cade and Fox and Josh Giddey, like these are the guys that are going. And yes, Josh Giddey is an Australian guard,
Boom.
but again, these are the future of this teams. Like this is the future of U.S. basketball and Australia basketball and French basketball. Tall, lanky players. That's it. I'm sorry, Ant is going to look like a midget in a couple of years, guys. I mean, he's going to look really small. He's going to look out there and be like, dude, why does Ant have such short arms? I mean, think about 4K when it gets better than 4K. And you're going to look at Ant, right? And then you're going to look at, Chet or any of these other 7'1" guys, and you're going to say, what happened to Ant? There's a reason they call him Ant.
Let's take these 4 guys you were saying, dude. You're saying Fox.
All right, Fox.
Cade. Let's take Ant and Tyrese. And you tell me which 2 you pick. If you're trying, this is a USA team situation.
I'm going with Cade.
Cade and
Jalen Green.
No. This 4 or 7. Fox, Tyrese.
I love Fox, man. Listen, the way that he runs.
So you're going Cade and Fox.
I love Fox. You can put any point guard in front of me in the league, minus a couple point guards, and you can say who can run an offense perfectly the way that Fox and blank can. There's handful of them, small amount. I'm telling you, Fox is elite.
But here's yeah. I mean,
And,
he's
and I
great.
love Cade, and I
He's
love
great because
Cade.
he
And the
creates
reason I love
so much
Cade is that
pressure on the paint.
the Cade is going to break out this year, guys. Cade is going to have a crazy season, and everybody's going to be like, "Oh, I can't believe we were comparing Cade and Tyrese." I mean, because Cade's going to have one of those seasons. And if you've been an OSU fan, you know what I'm talking about. This is the year that Cade breaks out, and everybody's like, "Damn, okay." So for me, that's why I'm putting this behind it, is because I watched what Cade did in those scrimmages, man. Right? You can't tell me that Cade wasn't a better looking player than Tyrese in those scrimmages. Like Cade just like shined. Like he was like the second coming of Magic Johnson in those. And that's what's crazy, man. Is that like to me, like I don't know how fast or how long it will be able to carry that mentality, that load around him in Detroit now. So maybe he can do something special. So for me, I'm putting Cade right at the top of the list as far as guards keeping on my team.
Okay, and if it came down to and here's the thing, like Cade hasn't had a season as good as Tyrese. There's no, in my opinion, because I mean 20 and 10, I haven't seen that from Cade yet.
Yeah.
Now, Giddy may not ever get to be as good as Tyrese. That's what Brian's saying. And
Yeah.
like I understand,
He's right at this moment.
I mean,
He's an
at this
all-star
moment,
player,
there's
all
no
NBA
guarantees,
player.
but you look at it and you say, like, I think Giddy still has, once again, better upside because his size, the way that he approaches the game, his ability, if he can get to that 40% 3-point shooting, that is sort of the holy grail of this situation. I think he could definitely be a 20-point average guy, 2010. His rebounds will be higher.
Yeah.
I also
He's
think
more of a complete player, in my opinion, when it comes down to it, because his rebounding and defensive abilities in that aspect.
Tyrese's shot, because it's so ugly, it always surprises me that he's a 40% shooter.
Yeah, and
Um,
yeah,
but
man, that's what I was about to say. Like he's kind of like Reggie Miller in that aspect. You're like,
yeah. Well,
what? That guy can shoot. What?
it's a little less erratic, but
Yeah.
it definitely is. It's like a little surprising. Whereas I do think Josh could make that leap. Whereas if Tyrese was like at Josh's level right now and it was an ugly shot and it had like and he was shooting 32% or whatever it is, I would be like, I don't know if he can make it. Whereas
Yeah.
I think Josh has good fundamentals. I think that he's going to be able to put it together if
Josh
he
can
can
play
get
1
to
through 4 on defense, bro. How many point guards can do that?
right. I mean,
And again, that's why to me,
but
like
Tyrese is absolutely a better player at this moment, and it's going to take a
at, at
lot of
this at,
improvement.
at this very moment, would you rather 16 points a game, 8 assists and 8 rebounds, or would you rather have what Tyrese has, which is 20, 10, and 3? Like my point is that that's what Josh Giddey, if you just take his baseline stats and you say this is what Josh did last year in the last 30, 40 games of the season, like to me, that's where I go to is like if Josh is out there putting up numbers like that, then he is in a real position to be saying, I'm legitimately one of the best point guards in the league, period. Because if Josh is putting up numbers that are 16, 8, and 8 as even a third year player, I mean, that's impressive. Much less a second year player, much less, what I'm saying? Like that's a kid that's 20 years old. And I think Josh, even if he doesn't take a step forward or take a step backwards and he just averages 16, 8, and 8, he's going to be known as, yes, Tyrese is a phenomenal passer. Yes, Tyrese can do this. But the new NBA isn't about the things that they can do. It's about the things they can't do. And that's what's highlighting right now in the offense and the defense is that having a complete player that plays defense and offense that can play 1 through 4, that can play 2 and 3, that can play this and that. It changes how you are able to play on the court. When you have a player that is one dimensional on the aspect of you can stick him on the point guard or stick him on the shooting guard and like, oh, that's great, right? But if you can't stick him on the point guard and stick him on the small forward, if you can't stick him on the shooting guard and you can't stick him on the small forward, you can't stick him on 2 different positions. And if you can't do that, then that really takes a hit. And which of our players that can't play 1 through 4 or play 5 through, 2? And that's where the game is changing. And that's where this team that we're watching with the USAA that I look at, and it's lacking. It's just lacking. And Brandon Ingram, great forward, right? But can he play defense 1 through 4? Probably not. You know what I'm saying? And you just keep on going, and you can go down this list. Can Paolo? No. Can Josh Hart? Maybe. You know, like and you're sitting here and you're just like, where's the future? There is no future with this team. You know, like there's ISO players. There's a player that distributes the ball, and that's his only purpose out there is to distribute the ball. And it's just like, come on. Where's the complete players? Like, we have a bunch of really good set pieces. But to have a complete team and complete players, complete everything, that's what's lacking in this USA FIBA team. And the reason that we know this is because we get a fresh look at what Sam Presti has done with this Oklahoma City Thunder team. You know, you can say that with the, Detroit Pistons. You can say that with any of these young teams, even the Houston Rockets somehow have a team atmosphere over there. You know, like that's what we're talking about. That team atmosphere brings something. It brings pride. And that's why I look at this and I'm just like, you know what? This team could get top 3 FIBA in the FIBA this year, just off of talent, you know? But what did we learn? That there's no future with this team. You're like, okay, but none of these guys are going to be on the team next year, the year after. They're just not. They're just not. There might be one, like you said, Tyrese might be on it. You might have Ant coming off the bench, far off the bench. But like, if we get our asses handed to us in 2 or 3 games in this, are you telling me that they're going to be okay with this team going forward? No, they're going to be like, we need to have a much better team coming forward. Period. And we saw that happen. We saw that happen with the
team before the Redeem team.
Yeah, the Redeem team. You know, like they got their asses handed and they came back so strong. It was just like, bam. Okay, well, that's not going to happen again.
One of the things they did was they handed over to Krzyzewski, right? But like, and he kind of implemented sort of what you see.
That was in 2010 that he put that team together there. You know, that it was young. Let's get going. Let's see what this team can do.
They bring in Krzyzewski. He was coached FIBA. You got Russ. You got all these young guys. Like, it was a really fun time. And here we are. We're looking at it, and it's like, it looks like we've kind of not learned the lessons. And you're saying Grant Hill, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, this team does seem like it was built like an all-star team from the 90s. And you're kind of like wondering, where's the coherence to it? And I'm looking at it. I'm like, I think maybe Kerr is kind of creating a bad strategy too with a lot of trapping, because like this FIBA
and the free shots that going up with Kerr's team.
Like, you got so many. Every team almost has an NBA player, it seems like. So I don't think this trapping strategy is just going to come out and overwhelm people. And if you look at the way the Thunder create pressure, like we pressure the ball from a man, like man pressure, and we expect all 5 guys to create pressure. I really think that that's the future of how you create pressure. I think zone traps against teams that are full of NBA talent, they just don't work. And if you're committing to them, you're going to be in trouble. And I think if you want to make sure you can create pressure, you kind of have to have players like J-Dub on the team that can create pressure without needing a second player. And I just don't know that they really have those guys, because you have to be able to play one-on-one against NBA talent. You can't help, because the ball will always find the open guy in the open spot. If you are, if you just trap reckless without abandon.
Yeah.
So
you're right, man.
I think maybe there's a little bit of I question a little bit of this.
Dude, I could be eating my words and the USA
I think we
team.
will be. I think because we're stupid to talk about our opinions about this instead of just like, drink the Kool-Aid and pretend like, oh yeah, Team USA all the way.
We were born in an area that is very opinionated about the beliefs, about what you see.
I think everybody's opinionated, but not everybody goes around and like talks about it like dickheads.
Well, and I get it. Like I'm not, you know what? I'm going to say this before I forget, because I keep forgetting to do this, man. We had a review.
Oh, we got a review.
We got a review. All right. So on Apple review, guys, we never get positive reviews. They're always super negative. So I want to say,
honestly, 2 years.
Yeah, it's been horrible. Like, and I'm okay with it, because like it's creative. It's been creative over there. All right. So this is from Go Russ. Fun listening experience. Mark and Dave have a great energy and a positivity about the Thunder. Like any sport podcast, I don't agree with every single take, but They're more fun to listen to than any other podcast, even if they are self-admittedly homers. Different but fun. Hell yeah, man! I appreciate that. Go Russ. I don't know who that was, but we appreciate you putting a positive review on Apple for us, because the reality is Mark and I are dickheads and we've rubbed people the wrong way. And if you don't believe that, go look on Apple Podcasts. There's been a lot of creative negative reviews, and it's so bad that we have 2.5% approval rating on Apple.
Which
It's
makes me
bad.
happy. I mean, listen, like if you're gonna talk about something like the Oklahoma City Thunder, like there's gonna be a lot of opinions. Um, I think when it comes down to it, we had a different opinion on something that was very, very strong held
Man,
belief
it was
that
the tank.
that was going to tank. And I appreciate these days looking at what the
But the
mayor
only
has
I'm going to
done.
say this: when Mark and I came onto the show, one of the things was that every Oklahoma City Thunder podcast was saying that this tank was going to take 4 to 5 years. Mark and I were saying this wasn't a tank; this was a rebuild, and was going to take 2 years. And there was a difference.
Well, if you
And
look at it,
I think that's why when we started coming out and people started challenging us, saying, "Well, this is not what this podcast said," or "This is not what he said," it was immediately like, "Well, that's because they're fucking morons." And it's not the way to go in Oklahoma with small podcasts. And when we started saying stuff like that, we started getting negative reviews. And I'm cool with it because we've walked into that shit.
the thing about it is it's easy to look at it and say like, well, we had 2 years where we were like, in the 20 wins, and we got two very good players for those. We got Chet and Giddy.
And
Um,
J-Dub,
well, J-Dub came from
a trade. I get it, but still, I mean,
right,
like,
yeah, but as far as like our own losing,
yeah,
right? But to sit there and say like, oh, well, we tanked for those picks, right? Which I mean, we did put player development in front, but and a lot of people didn't watch the games, and if you miss watching the games, you missed watching Shea turn into an All NBA player.
yeah.
That I mean, that's one of the things that like we felt like very strongly was that this progression for a player like Shea was going to happen very quickly.
It was going
And
to
if
be
you
boom.
just right, and it happened even though we only won 20 games.
Yeah,
He became a 30-point per game score,
yeah.
and we knew it happened because we were watching.
We watched
So
every game, and it was like, this is what's going to happen next year.
right, it became very apparent. So it does. I understand why it was a different opinion for us to have, that it was maybe not like going to be what everybody wanted it to be. But like I was saying a second ago, like I appreciate the mayor jumping on and recognizing that there was momentum behind this young team.
Yeah.
And if you waited till this team was like in the playoffs to try to get the stadium built, right, it may be too late for him to have the political capital.
Man,
And
I love the mayor using that.
right, he's
Momentum like that.
campaigning right now. He's campaigning for a new arena. He's using the team's upcoming success to leverage getting a new arena for the city. It's beautiful. It's brilliant politically.
Dude, it's going to be a beautiful
absolutely
stadium.
next level. And I'm a huge fan of what he's doing. But if this team was 5 years into 2 years into a 5-year tank,
Yeah,
he would get no support for this.
I know, man. I know.
And so I think it's really important that this is all kind of going together. And like Presti kind of let people feel like, oh, this is going to take a long time, because people were willing to give him a lot of things like pick swaps because they're like, oh, they're not going to need it. Now it looks like we might use it, and it's all like, I don't want to pick swap with a team that's going to be the best team in the league. Like those become really valuable when you're become like elite.
Sure.
And I think that's how I kind of like evaluate this whole situation is like, we have a different opinion. We're willing to express it, and it pisses people off. It rubs a lot the wrong way, but somehow there's enough people like George and Blake and Jared and everybody who's joining us in the
Sammy,
chat. Brian,
I mean, there's so many guys out there. El Salvador, like you guys have all made this experience
so long, man. It's awesome.
Listen, if George, Mark and I, when we started this, we never cussed.
Never cussed.
We never cussed. We never used language, and we were never ourselves when we first started on it. Mark would actually go back and bleep out all the F words. And so my point is that like from where we came to where we are now, like I'm just so grateful that Mark and I get to be who we are on this mic. And I don't care if people call us hillbillies. I don't care if people call us mentally handicapped. I don't care, because to me, only people I care about is the people that are listening, and you guys that are talking in the comments, the ones that are encouraging, the ones that are calling in. You guys are unfucking believable. And I will always say this, is that I appreciate having all you guys around. I appreciate the gifts that you guys give me. This amazing Andrew Gaze jersey. And, you know, when Mark and I started this, we could have never imagined that we would have had, you know, our podcast listened to on old platforms 1,000 times every single time we put one out there. And to me, it's nice.
I was looking at it, dude, like over like near like 200,000 downloads or views on YouTube.
It's
Like,
crazy, man.
I know, not
It's
bad for a
insane.
couple of hillbillies. And we're not going anywhere.
Fuck you guys. See you tomorrow.